Om Namo Narayanaya. Sahana bhavatu Sahano bhanaktu Sahaviryam karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswati Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Om Satchidananda Rupaya Vishvotpatyadihetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namaha. Harihi Om. Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Harihi Om. So Vedanta Shastra tells us about our true nature. But just telling a true nature does not help because of the conditioning of the mind. Conditioning of the mind takes away all of us from our true nature to that which is called as anatma, which is called as unreal self. So, if someone understands this, then what is the solution? The solution is to remove this conditioning. How much time it can take? No one can specifically tell you that this much of time is required to remove this conditioning. So, for a seeker, one has to understand, just keep time away from our sadhana, because time is also conditioning. So let us not keep time. Once we understand that this is the right path and the goal is supreme consciousness, and the path is well tested by not one person. Thousands and thousands of rishis and mahatma have well tasted it, and therefore this path is also supreme to reach to the supreme. So when a person understands this, then one can go ahead with firm determination. So in the last verse, that is 25, it is said, there are n number of schools of philosophy. They keep telling something, but all are conditioned, and therefore one has to stick to Vedanta Shastra. Verse number 26. Karya-karana-vachyamshau Jiveshau yau jahaschatau Ajahaschatayo lakshau Chidam shavekarupinau. Together. Karya-karana-vachyamshau Jiveshau yau. Once more, please repeat. Karya-karana-vachyamshau Jiveshau yau jahaschatau Ajahaschatayo lakshau Chidanshavekarupinau. So here it says, Yau karya karana vachya amshau. There are always two meanings for a statement. One is called as the literal meaning, and another is called as the very subtle meaning. So, literal meaning is called as vachartha, and a subtle meaning called as lakshartha. What that it indicates in a very subtle way, that is called as lakshartha. In a very superficial way, what it indicates, that is called as vachartha. Example, my house, if someone says, is on the seashore. Is on the seashore. So that means lakshartha is, it is close to the sea. Vachartha is on the seashore. So if exactly on the seashore is someone zing, the wave will come and take away everything. So this is how one has to understand. One is called as vachartha, one is called as a lakshartha. Somebody says, you are a donkey. that does not mean you are an animal donkey. You, you are behaving like a donkey. So this is called as lakshartha, and this is called as the literal meaning, the vachyartha. So this is how it should be clear. So it is said here, Yau karya karana vachya lakshav amshahu, the effect and cause aspect of literal meaning. First, anyone we will understand first a literal meaning of anything. Jiva ishau tau jahascha. Jahascha means to be given up. Of what? Jiva and Ishvara. Literal meaning of Jiva and Ishvara is different. How? So when we understand Jiva, there are three important aspects. Alpa Shakti. Alpa Shakti means limited power. Alpa Jnana, that means limited knowledge. Then Alpa Presence, that means limited presence. So these are the lakshana of Jiva. That Jiva which is no doubt having a power. Everyone has a power, but it is limited. Now Ishvara. Here it is limited power, it is unlimited power. Here it is limited knowledge, there is unlimited knowledge. Sarvajna. Here it present at one place, there it presents everywhere. So now just see, how is the difference? But this difference is from which standpoint? So then this is a question. So Vedanta says, only on the literal meaning there is a difference. How? Because of the conditioning. There is a difference. What is the conditioning? Jiva conditioning is ajnana, and Ishvara conditioning is maya. So it is only because of the conditioning it appears to be two. Now, what is to be underlined? Appears to be. Because it is not two, it is one appearing to be two. Example, like sun is one, appearing as in a different way, rays. So there are different rays of sunlight. So can the light be such like there are 1, 2, 3, 4 rays of light and therefore the lights are so many? No, light is one. It appears that because of the conditioning there are rays. Is this clear? There are no rays, there is only a light. Okay. So, because of the conditioning, it is appearing as two. Another example, when somebody has a defect of eye, and that person looks at the moon, and there are two moons. So that person has to be corrected oneself or go to the doctor and correct that defect. That no, there are no two moon. There is only one moon because of my defect of the eyes appearing as two. Okay. So one has to understand everything is an appearance. Think. One experience gives joy to one. Same experience gives joy, gives sorrow to another person. What is the example? Like if somebody doesn't like smoking and a person who smokes just sit next to that person. So the same thing, one smoke gives joy to one. And the same smoke gives joy, sorrow to another person. Now, ask one question. How can one thing give joy and sorrow? That means it is conditioning. It is only a conditioning. It is not reality. Which is not reality? Joy or sorrow, both are not reality. So in the same way, Jiva and Ishvara, they appear different only because of the conditioning. So, when you see on the superficial layer, it appears at totally different. Therefore, it is said here, discard this superficial meaning. Okay. Tayocha lakshau, then what is? Then take up the meaning which is called as lakshartha, implied meaning. Chid anshau, which is the consciousness aspect, ekarupinau, both nature of the Jiva and Ishvara, the nature is one and the same, ajahat, that not to be given up. So, one standpoint it is different. Which standpoint it is? That standpoint which is called as a literal standpoint, that which is called as a superficial standpoint, that we also can call as ignorant standpoint. It appears to be different. But when we go deep, dive into the Vedantic knowledge and understand that the implied meaning, that means removing the conditioning, the nature of both things is one and one. Only one thing is appearing as two. One thing is appearing as two. What appearing as two here? Atma Tattva is appearing as Ishvara and as a Jiva. So there is one and one Atma Tattva which appears as Ishvara and which appears as Jiva too. So this is how the only oneness is possible when we give up the superficial meaning, that is called as literal meaning, and take up implied meaning. 27. Karma shastre kuto jnanam tarke naivasti nishchayah sankhya yogau dvidha pannau Shabdika Shabda Tatparaha. Together. Karma Shastre Kruto Jnanam Tarke. So again, a comparison is given. Karma Shastre Kuto Jnanam. Karma Shastra here mean the Shastra which connect to the rituals. So it is called as Karma Kanda. So with the Karma Kanda, we cannot gain the supreme knowledge. Naivasti Nishchayah. Then it is said that which is called as Tarka Shastra. Tarka Shastra, Tarke Naivasti Nishchaya. That also, logic is also a limited thing, where the logic ends, there the spirituality starts. Why is it so? Because logic requires something as a base, like that of Kriya. That Kriya means action. That like guna, means quality. That is like the shape and size, name and form. So in Atma Tattva there is nothing. So therefore, by logic, one cannot prove what is Atma Tattva. And therefore, it is having limitations. Sankhya Yogo Dvidhapanno. Duality is there in Sankhya Yoga. Why? Because they say there is a Prakriti and Purusha, and both are two principles which are they understand as the complete principles. So if there are two complete principles, then there cannot be a liberation possible. Because one will condition another, this will condition that. And therefore it is also a duality, it is also condition. Then it says Shabdikaha, then it says grammar, that also only talk about the words and the perfection of the word. And therefore, all these different schools of thought cannot take you to that oneness of the self. 28. Anne pakhandina sarve jnanavarta sudurlabha ekam vedanta vidyanam svanubhutya virajate. Together. Anne pakhandina sarve jnanavarta sudurbalaha ekam. So imagine Bhagavan Adi Shankracharya ji at that moment, at that time, his job was so tough to first prove to our own people that this is the best. So why? Because there were so many schools of thoughts. So out of that people can get dragged away by anything. Therefore, this sort of portion comes in this text, that let us prove that yes, Vedanta Shastra is the supreme. So it is this Anne Pakhandina Sarve. What is called as Pakhandina? That which called as they keep telling anything that which is flimsy, that which is incorrect, that which is not to the correct understanding. Jnana varta durbalaha. Why is it so? Because there is no actual commitment to the discussion about the Supreme Self. So, unless and until there is a continuous focus on one and one, that is Supreme Self, there cannot be that oneness possible. And nobody has that correct self-knowledge where they can arrive by right discussion to one and one point which is called as the Self. Therefore, it is said, Veka Vedanta Vidnyanam Svanubhutya Virajate. There is a very important point. Svanubhutya Virajate. It shines as one's own experience. What? That is called as Vidnyanam. Vidnyanam, in Bhagawad Gita, Bhagavan explains, Jnanam Vidnyanam Sahitam Pravakshami. So what is a jnana and vidnyana? So one jnana is a jnana which is informative. Then the experience of that information, that is called as vidnyanam. So here this vidnyanam is that self-experience. Eka Vedanta, where it is possible only and only in the Vedanta Shastra. So, if we again dive deep, what is this Vedanta Shastra? In nutshell, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. What is the Vedanta Shastra statement? Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Then another is Sarvam Khaluvidam Brahma. So there are two standpoints. From one standpoint, it is the whole universe, what we see, it is mithya. That's called as illusion. How is it so? Because, yes, the mithya is that because it is not possible, because the self cannot be divided into two. Atma Tattva cannot become two. Why? Avyayaha, Shashvataha. Avyaya means there is no part in it, and there cannot be a part in it at all. It is Shashvataha. So, that's how there cannot be anything other than the self. And therefore, the second statement is Sarvam Khalu. If you see anything, that is Brahma. If you see anything, if you see, then that is nothing other than the Brahma. So from one standpoint, the whole world is mithya. From another standpoint, if you see something, then you have to understand it is nothing but a reflection of the same Brahma. So, this is how one has to understand the world Vedanta Shastra declares as. So, we have seen Svanubhutya Virajate, Swa Anubhuti, unless and until one gains one's own true experience of the self, there cannot be a oneness understood or possible.
Om Namo Narayanaya.